So this is Ocean City, New Jersey. Today is March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. And we are on the boardwalk. And we just came out.
Drop, stitch, magic loop, slip, slip, purl, slip, slip, knit, twisted cord, wrap and turn, pick up and knit. Joe plays scarf.
All right, kids, when I die, I want a bench here with my name on it, got it? Right across from Mango.
That's right.
No, this sweatshirt? Oh, I will stop buying you anything then.
Sit,
You're
pop
already
up,
gonna be
sit
miserable
down.
with me. Am I supposed to be here?
Yeah, everybody.
Okay.
Ryan,
What about you?
take that down. Bella, get closer to them like they're part of your family.
If that's time to say.
Ryan, come on, unzip a little bit.
Listen to your mother and zip that down. No, zip it down, not up, down.
Picture taking.
There you
All right, you ready? Everybody look at me. Say cheese.
All right, so
Intrusive, is it?
I don't know. It's too bright. It's too green.
It's too green.
Yeah, they're not going to want to look at my knitting. They're just going to be looking at your shirt. But all you see is the.
Mango and mango.
Yeah, well.
Eat your heart out, Derek.
Drop, stitch, magic loop, slip, slip, purl, slip, slip, knit, twisted cord, wrap and turn, pick up and knit.
One.
Hi, everybody.
Hi there.
Welcome to another episode of Joey's Scarf. Today is Sunday, April 8th, 2018, and this is episode 23. And this is a knitting, crocheting, and crafty podcast, and occasionally I have a guest. My name is Lynda, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Lynda Grace, and that's Lynda with a Y. All of the things I'm going to show you today and talk about today, I will be putting them in the show notes, which will be in the down bar below. And this is my guest today. And who are you?
I'm Linda's husband, Ross. And I'm a guest many times.
Yeah, you have been lately, yeah. And I've had some comments about you.
We'll keep those quiet.
Okay. So, a couple of weeks ago, I know your birthday is coming up in a couple of days.
Oh.
And it's a big birthday. We're not going to say which one it is, because if we tell your age, then my age might be revealed, and we don't want to do that.
No.
But I asked you what you wanted to do for this big birthday, and you said I asked you if you wanted a party, and you said you wanted a surprise party.
Which means a party, so can't keep a surprise.
No. I'm going to move this camera just a touch because there.
Okay.
So
I'm looking forward to it because most of the people at this party are going to be under the age
of you.
of me. Everybody will be under the age of me. But most of the active members of the partying group will be under the age of 15, I think. They hold a majority.
Not yet.
Oh,
Not
just about.
Quite.
Well, no one family has.
Well, the Georgia boys won't be here.
They won't be here, but
Yeah.
see, they're supposed to be here, the Georgia boys, you know.
So that means that
We aren't complete.
So your no surprise party will be next Saturday.
Shh. Keep it a secret.
And it's going to be nice. unfortunately, a couple of people who you would love to see just can't be here. Your sister, who just underwent some surgery and she's recovering right now. And I think she's the one person you really would love to have.
Yes, because that would mean that she's recuperated and
That's right.
everything else.
Yeah. So you had a little trip the other day.
Yeah, not that kind of trip. It was a lot of fun. I went to New York Auto Show with two friends of mine from the community that we live in Barnegat, southern Jersey. And we took the bus, which was really kind of funny because we have to go to Tom's River to get the bus. I'm looking at this man at the ticket booth, and for Pete's sake, it's my next door neighbor. What's he doing here? I mean, you see people out of context, it's always a shock. And there he was, my next door neighbor with his daughter and granddaughter on their way to the Metropolitan Museum of Art of all things.
Oh, they weren't going to the car show.
No, no.
Oh.
And I've, for 15, 20 years almost, I've been looking for people who might be interested in going to a museum.
Why I don't want to go?
Well, not this time. Well, anyhow, it was a pleasant surprise. And then later on in the car show itself, man walked up to me, and it was somebody that I worked with for 30 plus, maybe 35 years total. My friend Ed, there he was, right by the Duesenberg J. He likes his classic vintage antiques, real antiques.
So you ran into somebody that you see every day, and you ran into somebody you haven't seen in 20 years.
20 years, right?
20 years.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And the way he recognized me was a huge, booming expletive. Well, hi, how are you, Ross? We haven't seen each other in what, 30 years? Well, it tickled my fancy. I really got a big kick out of that. Being recognized.
You used to be recognized all the time.
Yeah, now nobody knows who I am.
Mr. G.
No, that's true. Well, anyhow, wasn't there one other thing that...
that we wanted to talk about?
Yeah, very quickly. Well, anyhow, I thought it was kind of an exciting day.
So, yeah, you like to go to the city.
Yeah.
And if we drove from Barnegat to New York City, it would take us at least 2 hours to get there.
To get into Midtown.
Right.
It would be a 2 hour
So how
trip.
long? You drove to Tom's River, which was
We drove
like 20
to Tom's
minutes.
River, 20 minutes.
The bus took
1
you
hour.
An hour and 20 minutes?
1 hour.
Yeah, but I mean, total. So it was an hour and 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
How come the bus can get there in an hour and
they
would
have,
take us 2 hours to get there?
they have dedicated lanes for the buses,
Oh.
especially during rush hour.
Oh.
And they're very adamant about maintaining that regulation.
So we used to go to the city more frequently.
You won't believe it. When we lived separated, closer apart, up outside of Princeton.
Yeah.
We lived outside of Princeton, and we used to go into the city quite often, and you'd never guess what we went for. We still get emails for it. Go ahead.
Well, you talk
Okay.
about it.
We went to a restaurant, nightclub called La Belle Epoque. It was on Broadway and between 12th and 13th Street. And it was an old place. It reminded me of the turn of the century. The other one, way, way, way back. Older than me, even. And we went for Argentine Tango lessons. And we usually went at least once a week, for quite some time, actually. I can no longer repeat any of the steps that I learned, but I'm sure if...
the ocho, what is it called? The ocho?
The ochos.
The ocho.
The ochos.
Yes,
Ochos.
we used to...
And we'd go out for dinner.
pretend
too.
that we could tango.
That's, well,
Argentine tango.
Argentine
And we
tango.
did take private lessons.
Yes. Yes, I think he now runs trips to Argentina, to Buenos Aires. They go on tango trips.
Well, that our tango days were quite a number of years, many years ago. At least 16 years ago, anyway.
That's true. So anyhow, we really stretched this one out.
But no, so we might I don't really care for New York City myself. I don't know why. It just...
Well, you always seem to enjoy yourself.
I
when
like
you're
going
around.
with you because you know your way around.
Yeah. That's the only reason.
But Downton Abbey, the show, I don't know if anyone's a fan of the show, but I'm sure a lot of you are, is they're going to be having an exhibit in New York City. It's going to go until September 22nd or something like that. But they have replicas of the different rooms. Like there's a replica of the
Formal dining room.
well, not the I don't know if the formal.
I think so.
I know they have the servants' dining room, and the gowns and all the clothing that the cast wore on the shows, and so we might do that. My sister wants to go. We're not sure if the husbands will join us, but you were a big fan of Downton Abbey,
Yes,
so I
I
think you would like to. You would
I
enjoy that.
enjoy looking at the costuming and the mores, the social mores, actually, the era.
So we might be planning that trip in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
And
September 3rd is when it is when the show
I
ends.
think it's later than that.
We'll check it out and
Yeah.
do our due diligence.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
Anything else? What have we haven't really been watching. We've been kind of digging at the bottom of the barrel for things to watch on Netflix. And,
which is easy for me because I love
yeah, you
anything.
watch anything. You
I
watch
love
anything.
B movies. What can I say?
Yeah. So I think we've run through all the popular shows, and now we're down to
The Jersey Shore.
subtitled. Oh,
The Jersey
no,
Shore.
no.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to see them. I mean, they'll just fall all over themselves with excitement.
Yes, the Jersey Shore people are coming back, if you don't know. Anyway, I think, you have anything else to add here?
No, I'm pretty much out of it now. No,
Have you been reading any good books lately?
actually, I've been trying to get into a McMurtry, but I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you showed me this app on your phone. It's called
Yes.
Calm.
CALM.
Right. And I decided to you told me, you kept telling me I should download it, and it's you can meditate. It has like soothing scenes, waterfalls, rainforest, beach scenes, and also guided meditation.
Right.
Someone guides you through some meditation. And I have difficulty sleeping. We won't go into why right now, but I have some problems staying asleep. And I usually wind up getting up and looking at my phone, which is probably a no-no. But I decided to download this application, and guess what I found? Last night, I woke up around 3. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I came out to the living room and sat on the sofa, and I decided to look at this application and see if there was something there that might help me. And they have a section called Bedtime Stories.
Oh.
And there's all sorts, and I decided to listen to a bedtime story. And the narrator has a very soothing voice, and I can't remember, The Red Lantern was the name of the story that this person was reading to me. It's a
classic.
Yeah. I had never heard of it or read it or listened to it, but in the beginning, the narrator comes on and he explains the story and what he's going to tell, and in the background is this very, there's like a tempo, a beat, a very soft, but you can almost, it's like a heartbeat in the background of him talking. And he started the story, and I think I got to the first 5 minutes of the story, and I was out.
How about that?
And I slept for the rest of the night.
You were like a log.
Yeah. And I mean, I would love to hear the rest of the story.
Maybe I should do that too.
Yeah. But the nice thing about the app too is once the story is over, it shuts down your phone, and it goes dark so that you're not awakened by the light, and and so I thought it was really neat. I'm going to give that a try. Instead of, what we do is we go to bed and we put the TV on. You fall asleep immediately. I put the timer on so that if I do fall asleep,
you'll know to get up.
Yeah, I won't have to turn, the TV won't wake me up. But I think that's probably the worst thing you can do. They say that you shouldn't turn the TV. You should have no electronics in the bedroom. No TV, no phone. So maybe we'll try this. We'll each plug in and listen to a bedtime story.
Then we can critique it.
The app is free for 7 days.
Right.
But once you once the 7 days are over, if you don't cancel, they charge your iTunes account for $59.
$59
for a year. It's $59 a year. And if this works for me, it's well worth the $59. The thing is too, though, that it's not a one-time shot. I think it's $59 a year, but I'm not sure about that.
Yes, it is.
Because I think they keep updating it and adding more things to it. But I'll let you guys know how it works for me.
Well, at least you don't have to knit 1, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2. Well, you don't have to keep count of something like that.
Oh, well, I can't. Yeah.
Well, some people count sheep. All you people count stitches. Well,
sometimes I do fall asleep while I'm sitting there.
Yes, I know. How do you remember where you left off?
Sometimes I don't.
Oh.
All right, so thank you for joining me. I don't know if this will probably be at the beginning, or maybe I'll put some of it at the end. But
okay, whatever.
And I think I'm going to, you can say...
Toodles.
Toodles. And I don't think you want to sit here while I talk about my knitting.
No, because this chair is really hard.
Okay, it's uncomfortable. All right, so we're going to take a little break while Ross
gets up
and finds something else.
You might be able to tell how old I am then.
Maybe you'll read your book or something.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, see you later.
Ta-ta.
Bye.
Bye.
So on with the show, the knitting portion of the show anyway. I am going to be showing you some finished objects. I have a couple of finished objects. I have some works in progress, and I'll get to those in a minute. But first, for those of you who have been following me and watching this podcast, you're familiar with the reason for the title, or the story behind the title, Joey's Scarf. That's the name of the podcast. But if you're joining for the first time, Just let me explain a little bit. I named the podcast Joey's Scarf in honor of my son Joe, who passed away 6 years ago from colon cancer. And while he was going through his chemo, I knit him a scarf while I would sit and wait for him to finish his chemo. And this is the scarf that I made him. And I thought it would be a nice idea when I started the podcast to include Joe in the podcast. And in the beginning, there were several episodes where I talked about Joe, and I hope that everyone watching would get to know him. Joe's birthday was April 4th, and that gave me the idea last year to have a make-along to invite others to join me in knitting or crocheting something in honor of someone that you either lost or someone who is close to you, someone that you want to think about or that you think about while it would give you an opportunity to think about that person while you were knitting. And I got a nice response last year, so I decided to do it again this year. So that's the name of the make-along. I called it a second annual Joey's Scarf Memorial Make-Along. And that ended on April 4th. It only ran about a month, and I wasn't strict about rules or anything. I just wanted to have you, those of you who participated, just knit along with me and share your progress and your stories on the thread in the group, the Ravelry thread. There were 14 of us participating, so that was I was thrilled with that. And there were some beautiful, beautiful stories and objects that people were working on and finished. And even if you didn't finish, I just appreciated knitting along with you. I did pick a winner to give a prize to, and I shot a little video of me picking the winner, and I'm going to put that right here, and I'll be back once it's over. Okay, it's time to pick the winner of the Joey's Scarf second annual memorial knit along. We had 13 entries, and here are all the names. I just typed them all up and I put them in a little dish here, and I'm just going to reach in, mix them up a little bit. And there's all my friends watching to make sure that I'm being honest here. And here we go. And the lucky winner is Lorna Mary Gray. Congratulations, Lorna. Yes, so congratulations to Lorna Mary Gray. You are the winner, and I will be contacting you on Ravelry. If you see this and you want to get in touch with me, that would be great too, but I will make sure to contact you to get your mailing address, and I'm going to send you a very nice prize. So, the first finished object I am going to show you is the knitting at the library cowl. That was this one. And it is by Corey Eckelberger. And it's a paid-for pattern. And I finished it. And I really liked making it. It was a lot of fun. I'll insert some pictures of me wearing it. but it was a really neat project to work on. Most of the yarn that I used, all of these, were just from my stash, pieces left over from different projects that I made. It's a really nice knit, feels really good, and I've worn it a lot. If you look at my Ravelry project page, you'll see that I cast on more stitches than what the pattern calls for. I just wanted something wider than it was coming out a little too narrow for me. So I just added some stitches, but I have those noted on my Ravelry page. So that's my first finished object. My next finished object is the shawl that I made for the make-along, the Joey Scarf Memorial Make-Along. And this is what I'm wearing it. And I made this, it's a triangular shawl pattern, which is a typical shawl pattern, and your basic triangle shawl pattern. And I put a little detail in the back. I'll show you. Take it off. So I added a little detail down the back, the spine of the shawl. And actually it looks okay from either side, I think, but this is the right side. And I named this shawl Priscilla Shawl after my mother, and I thought about her a lot while I was knitting it, and I just love the way it came out. Let me get the yarn that I used. Hold on. Okay, the yarn that I used two different yarns, as you can see. The gray is a sparkly yarn, and it is a Chelsea Yarns, Chelsea Luxe, and the name of it is Flying Finch, and it is 20% nylon, 5% stellina, and 75% superwash merino, and it's really pretty, and I love knitting with it. The other yarn is by Anzula, and that's the pink. And it is their hand-dyed yarn squishy fingering sock, and this is mauve. And it is 385 yards, and it is 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. Really pretty, very, very soft. I've worn this shawl a lot. I really like it. I have the details of how I did the shawl in my on my Ravelry project page. I'll include a link to the project page in the show notes. This is my Priscilla shawl, and I love it. Think about you, Mom. So those are my two finished objects. I have a couple of works in progress. One of the things I'm working on is the Reyna Shawl. And that's what it looks like. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I don't know if you can see it. I started that, and this is how far I've gotten with this. It's a fun knit too. I love the yarn, the colors. It's just so spring-like. And the yarn I'm using for this is from Yarn Cafe Creations. And it's Toadstool is the color. This is what it looks like. I'm probably going to make it bigger than what the pattern calls for, because I want to use up every last bit of this yarn. I don't want to have any left over. And I like the size of this shawl, the Priscilla shawl, and I made sure that I used up most of it, and this is what I had left from the Priscilla shawl. So that's what I want to do with this. I want to make sure there's nothing left when I finish, because I have all of this leftover, little bits and pieces of leftover yarn from making socks, and I don't know what to do with it after a while. So I'm just going to knit and knit and knit this until I run out of yarn. But I like it. It's going to be a squishy shawl, and I think it's going to be a nice springtime shawl because it's got a lot of the open mesh kind of stitching here. And as you go, the mesh, the rows of mesh get, more and more, you have more and more rows of mesh. But to tell you the truth, I really don't like doing the mesh. It's a lot of yarn overs and knit two together, and then it takes a little bit longer, but I'm kind of playing with the pattern, to tell you the truth, so I don't know if I'm going to stick strictly to the sequence that the pattern is using, but I'm having fun knitting that one too. The Reyna Shawl. Another work in progress. I decided to make another one of these blankets, and this is using the Bernat Blanket yarn. This is the other blankets I made where the pattern was random. The pattern is going to be striped. I will never use this yarn again, the striped yarn, because there are a lot of knots in this yarn. It seems that like every time the color changes, there's a knot. I don't know if you can see. So this blanket is filled with little stubby knots here, and I don't like that it changes in the middle of the row like this. So I'm really not happy with the way this yarn is knitting up. But it's still a cushy blanket, and I'm making it for myself, so it'll do for me. But if I were making it for someone else, I wouldn't choose the striped version of this. Let me get the other blanket. I'll show you. So this is one of the other blankets that I made. It's the same brand of yarn. It's the Bernat Blanket, but it's an all-over pattern, and there were hardly any knots in this at all. And I just like the way this one came out a lot better than the striped one. So lesson learned. Okay. Had to change positions because the sun was starting to come in on the other side. I think that's pretty much what I've been working on, the two works in progress, the Reyna Shawl and the blanket, and the finished objects were the Priscilla shawl and the Knitting at the Library cowl. I have my sweater that I'm working on, my Gramps sweater from Tin Can Knits. I'm still working on that. I kind of put it in timeout for a while because I'm at the part where I'm just knitting around and around with stockinette stitch, and it's really gets to be a little tedious. So I kind of put that one down for a while. I am still working on my scrappy blanket, and I've gotten pretty far on this, using up all my scrappy yarns. I almost frogged this because I'm having a hard time figuring out, I'm still having a hard time figuring out how to connect the squares so that they all point in the same direction. And I just gave up. I picked this up about a week ago, and I was working on it, and I just couldn't figure out how to attach this one. But this morning, when I took it out of the bag, I was just gonna, like I said, I was gonna frog it. I just looked at it and I said, oh, that's how it goes. And I was able to do it. The other thing, I was going to use this pattern where the tops would be different colors of each block. The tops would be different, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to be doing that either, because there's too many ends that way, you know, too many ends to tie in, and I just didn't like the way it was coming out. So I'm just going to do some solids now, and whatever I feel like doing, and whatever color I pull out, that's the way it's going to go, because after all, it's a scrappy blanket. I like the way it feels. It's a little too scrappy maybe for some people's taste, and maybe even for mine, but I think once it's done, I'm going to love it. Of course, I'll put a border on it. This is, yeah, it's a long-term project, but it's coming along. So that's my scrappy blanket. Yeah, I have a few things going. That's all I have for knitting, crocheting, and works in progress and finished objects. I did want to mention, I guess about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Victoria from Victoria Knits, Wendy from Baba Yaya, and I did a live podcast. You can find that live podcast under Victoria Knits, and it was a lot of fun to do. I don't know how much fun it was for you guys to watch, but it was our first attempt, and it was raw and uncut, obviously, because it was live. And check it out, because I think it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, and we hope to do another one soon. Also want to mention that I have a blog. It's called Lynda Grace An Hour Away, and for the month of April, I have participated in this challenge since 2012. Every day in the month of April, I will be posting I will be writing a new post, and I'll be working my way through the alphabet so that each day the post will have something to do with a subject that starts with the appropriate letter of the day. And I would really like it if you would check that out, and I'll put a link to my blog in the show notes. Since I've been doing the podcast, I've gotten away from writing, and it's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. And since I've been doing the challenge starting April 1st, I have really realized how much I've missed writing, and I'm a little rusty, but once I'm getting into it, I'm finding my way back. And so I hope you'll check that out. April 4th, as I mentioned before, was Joe's birthday. I wrote about it in one of the posts, but I will tell you that every year that passes. I feel like I'm getting better with the grief, but there are certain days, like his birthday or Mother's Day or the holidays, they're just really, really tough. But I think the toughest one is April 4th, Joe's birthday. This year, I was having difficulty sleeping the night before, as I have been anyway, but this was particularly, I woke up really feeling kind of strange. My heart was racing, and I didn't understand what was going on, but I kind of, I fell back to sleep, and at daylight I woke up and I had a message on my phone, and it was from my sister, and she sent me a text with a picture of her first grandchild, who was born that morning, April 4th, at around 5 o'clock, something like that. And as soon as I saw that and I saw the date, I just broke down in tears, and the emotions were very mixed. Very thrilled for my nephew and his wife, very thrilled for my sister, who was a grandmother for the first time. The baby is beautiful, and it was just the mixed emotions of having this baby be born on the same day as my Joe was. So I think that's it for today. I hope to see you soon. And I think that's all for today. So happy knitting. We'll see you soon.
Drop, stitch, magic loop, slip, slip, purl, slip, slip, knit, twisted cord, wrap and turn, pick up and knit.